So adding on to the previous video might be a bit daunting for you, seeing all these different tabs and might be overwhelming, but take your time and work through it and just see the different types of elements that you can click and use, so you understand and see that you might not even use all of this because you might be into structures. So in the architectural tab, you would maybe never use any of these elements, um, that's in this ribbon. So don't feel too overwhelmed, but let me show you how to do um, some levels and grid lines so you can start your project. So in this case, I'm into structures, so I'm going to work in the structures tab. I'm going to go to grid. If you hover over grid, you'll see the abbreviation GR. That's basically a shortcut. So I use these shortcuts because it saves you time in the long run. Instead of going there and clicking on it and drawing it, you'll see it saves you a lot of time, because in AutoCAD, I used a lot of, you'd call it, commands. So I'll just show you before we do the grids. If you go to view and then you go to user interface, here it says keyboard shortcuts. So you can also press KS on your keyboard. Then it opens this keyboard shortcut menu. So what you can do is, if you know you use a lot of, let's say, beam creation elements. So if you type in beam, you'll see here I think I've already set this up. I can't recall, but maybe it's not been set up. So if you create a lot of beams, you'll know that let's make your own shortcut and call it BM instead of going into the ribbon and actually, selecting it. It will save you a lot of time. So I'm just gonna maybe do, let's see if the architectural tab or structures tab does not have a abbreviation for one of the elements. So let's see, wall. So this isolated footing doesn't have uh, a abbreviation. So let's create one. So if I go again KS on the keyboard and I go foundation, so the isolated foundation does not have one. So maybe let's call it um, IS for isolated, or IF rather, sorry, isolated foundation, and say assign. There it assigns the shortcut. So if I say OK now, and I go here and I hover, you see it's created the IF here next to the name. So that means if I press IF on the keyboard, IF, you'll see that automatically this footing here at the right comes up and you can click it there. Okay. So if the browser on the left and the properties on the right is not on your screen, you can right click and you can go to browser and click project browser, make sure it's ticked, and then it will appear, maybe it'll appear something like this. Then you can just snap it to the edge. Okay, mine doesn't want to snap now, but you see, if I do, see, it's going to snap to the top now. It's because I have a screen on the left, so it doesn't want to snap here. But let's say the properties one, here's the properties one, just make sure that's ticked. It will pop up like this, and just pull it to the right and see it snaps there. Okay, so the reason I have the project browser and the properties open is when you draw, you want to see in which plan, view, or section you are drawing. And then in the properties tab, you'll see, let's say you draw a wall, you'll see the properties of that wall and any other element. So it's good information to have open while you are drawing. But that's obviously up to you. If you don't want this on displayed, you can just remove it by ticking it again, like that. If I tick it again, it comes up here. Okay, so let's get back to drawing the grid lines. So if I go grid, I press GR on my keyboard. Here at the top, you'll see it's called a modify tab within your grid. So now you can choose line, you can choose start end radius, or center end arc, or pick lines. So in this case, I'm just going to use line because I want a straight line. So if I draw it down like this, you'll see that the grid line has been drawn. So I have grid line 1. Now, if you're wondering why it's only the bubble with the 1 at the bottom and not at the top, you can just click on it and see here it says show bubble. So then I click it and then it pops up the other bubble. But to ensure every time I actually draw a grid that both ends display the bubble, I'll click on this. I'll go to edit type, and here it says plan view symbol end 1 and end 2. So end 2 was obviously the bottom, end 1 is going to be ticked. So if I say okay, what will happen now is if I say GR again, I click here and I bring it down, you can see automatically the 2 is on both ends of the grid line. So you can go and copy this, press CO on your keyboard, and you can literally copy your grids like that, or you can add it in manually as I've previously shown. But if you want to adjust a grid, if you click on this grid, you'll see you have these options or dimensions. That's not dimensioned, it's just for your information. So you can actually click on this dimension and change that to 4000. And you can see how it adjusts your grid line. Okay, so let's say you want to change the grid line numbers, or you want to change this to alphabetical. You click on this and you press A and enter. It's going to change the top and the bottom. Now, if I want to go and change this manually, it's going to take a while. So I'm just going to delete this. You can literally click on this one, copy it again, 5 meters, 6 meters, it doesn't matter what grid interface you want, you can choose, but there you can see it's automatically given us the ABCDE. Then if I say GR on my keyboard again, I want to do the horizontal grid lines. So I draw one, this becomes F, but I actually want this to be 1. That's fine like that. Now I go and I copy. You can see I've just copied this. Great. Okay, now this is obviously not evenly spaced. So if I do a dimension, so I press DI on my keyboard, it activates the dimension option. So if I dimension this line, it's 28 meters. Okay, I want this to be, let's say 30. So we have an equal spacing of the grids in between. So I'm going to delete that one. Going to press DI on my keyboard. Going to click like this to each of the grid lines. Okay, now once I've done that, don't click away yet. If you click away, this will happen. It will deselect the dimension. Now if I click on this dimension, you'll see it says EQ. That means equal. So it's not equal now. So if I click on this, you'll see it equalizes each dimension instead of having to go and draw it in at the specific dimensions that you'd like. So you can, let's delete this. You can do it like this. You say copy and you go, let's say 7.5. 7.5. You can do that. There's many ways of doing it. I just wanted to show you how easy it is to put these grids out evenly. So let's say I add in another dimension here, another grid line. Now I noticed, okay, they're not evenly spaced. Now what I'm going to do now is, let's just change this to D1. So now what you can do is you click on the dimensions. If you go to the top here where it says modify, you can click on the edit wellness line. What that means is if I click on this, I can edit within this dimension, because it's this one dimension it's linked. So if I delete this, it deletes all of them. So if I click here and I click there and I click on this line, you see it gives you an extra dimension. Now if I click on this and I say equal again and equal, it gives you the evenly spaced dimensions. Okay, so obviously this has now changed our number system. So let's just copy this again, go to 6. Now I'm going to make that, you'll see what happens here. That becomes D2 because that was the last number I renamed to D1. So that's why it's become D2. So if I make this 2 now, and I go and copy 3, 4, 5. And there we have our grids. Okay, so that's how you set up your grids. Then if you want to do your levels, you're going to go to the east elevation. Doesn't matter which elevation. So if I click here and I just move this upwards, so you can see that we just need to move these lines over so it goes over each grid line. So it cuts that grid line. Okay, just want to show you, if I would move this grid line up like that, it's not cutting level 1. Okay, so if I go into level 1 now, you're not going to see these grid lines. Do you see that? Because we're looking from the east, which is there, towards that side. Because we can't see this is because it's not cutting the plane. So always make sure it cuts all your levels. If I go back again, there's your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so now what I want to show you here is, if you look closely, you'll see that this line here at the bottom is black and that triangle is more of a blue type color. Okay, what that means is this level is associated with a plan. Same with the level 2. So if I go and I copy this level and I say CO and I copy it over, let's just make it 3 meters, enter. You'll see this level 3 has not popped up here as a structural plan. And the reason for that is, if you copy levels over, it's not associated with a plan. So if you look closely, this is blue and that is black. So once your level indicator is black, this triangle, it means it's not associated with a level. So how to fix that is, you can go to View, Plan Views, Structural Plan, and you'll see here it will show you which plans does not have, or which levels rather does not have a plan associated to it. So now let's say I want to create a plan from level 3. I say OK, and there it pops up. The other way you can do this is, if I go to structure, I go here to level. See, the level is not grayed out anymore. If you're on plan view, you can't create a level. So you can either press LL on your keyboard, or you can click on this level. And if you do this method, it will automatically generate a ground plan. Let's just start from that side, because it starts on that side and you want to end it here. Now you'll see that that is also blue and it has automatically created the level 4 for you. So that is how you create your levels. You can also rename these levels. Let's say the level 1 or let's just create a new level. I go LL. I'm going to just put the level here. Now this level, I want to name foundation level and press enter. There it automatically updates that, and it updates this here where it was always level 5. So that's how you can create your own names for your levels. What I usually do is in front of this, I would say -01, so that you have a numerical order. So if this was not level 1, if this was surface bed, and you call this maybe mezzanine slab, just creating examples now, and maybe that roof. Now you'll see this is all mixed up. It's obviously in alphabetical and numerical order. I don't want it like that because when I work here, I don't want to be disorganized. So what you do is you click on this one. Let's rename it again. Call it 00 dash enter. Now you see foundation, then you see your surface bed. This one I'm going to call 01. There you go. And then the roof I'm going to call 02. And then obviously the level 4 is maybe roof above, something like that. But I want to name it 03 dash roof above. So you have this all in alphabetical slash numerical order. Okay guys, see you in the next video.